Hi, Ben here again. So, about a week ago, I made a video about the whole fiasco in the raw food world. And I said that the Woodstock Fruit Festival made a big mistake in demoting Harley and Freelee. And I have since changed my perspective of the whole matter. And I want to share that with you today. So, the first thing I need to get out there is that I think what Freelee and Harley are doing is absolutely fantastic. They're getting more people vegan than ever. They're getting people really healthy. They're making a better lifestyle very attainable for a lot of people. And I don't recommend that they change anything. But I think that we're all framing this de-pioneering thing a little off. So, what's the Woodstock Fruit Festival about? For me, when I signed up, I thought it was just about eating more fruit. But I think the Board of Governors has decided that the Woodstock Fruit Festival is about aspiring to be a raw vegan. And pioneers are leading the way in that they have a lot of experience with trying to be a raw vegan, and they are raw vegans themselves, or they're trying really hard to be raw vegans. Now, Freelee and Harley are doing great things, but they're not trying to be raw vegans anymore. They're just not. And that's fine. But it makes sense to me that if that's for the Board of Governors what the Woodstock Fruit Festival is about, that they wouldn't want somebody eating massive amounts of cooked food to be pioneers anymore. I think what kind of happened here is that the Woodstock Fruit Festival took on a lot of different meanings for a lot of different people. And for a lot of people, the Woodstock Fruit Festival wasn't about striving to be a raw vegan. It was just about eating more fruit. And that doesn't seem to be what it's about for the Board of Governors. So how did I come to this new perspective? So I was emailing to withdraw from the Fruit Festival, and I was explaining how disappointed I was in the Board of Governors. And Anne Obsborne responded to me, and she was telling me about how, she felt like this was going to be a good thing in the long run for the Fruit Festival, and that it was a good decision and it wasn't ego-driven. And I said, how is that possible? You keep on Dan the man who's not low-fat. It's obviously not about 80-10-10 because Christina and John juice, for example, which is not 80-10-10. John uses miso. What else? John says he eats 15 to 20% fat. That's not 80-10-10. That's high in fat. So it's not about 80-10-10 raw veganism. But it is about pursuing a raw vegan diet and, low fat, however they want to call that. Anyway, so I responded to Anne's email with all my concerns. I said, this just doesn't make any sense. And after a couple responses back from her, I started to really get a new perspective of what was going on here, which is that when the board de-pioneered Freelee and Harley, they didn't expect that they'd be alienating themselves from Freelee and Harley. They still wanted Freelee and Harley to come. They're special guests, and as special guests, they have their ticket covered from them, and they can still receive other funds from the festival that covers their flight from Australia to the United States, or at least in large part. So the festival really wasn't trying to slap Freelee and Harley in the face here, is what I'm getting from Anne's responses. It wasn't so much of an attack on Freelee and Harley. I think that the board really does see a lot of value in what Freelee and Harley are doing. They just don't see them as pioneers anymore in the Woodstock Fruit Festival sense. Now, if I was running the festival, I would say that the festival is not about raw veganism. It's about eating more of nature's perfect food, fruit, and I might throw in vegan in there too. But for the board members, it's not about eating more fruit. It's about striving to be a raw vegan. And Freelee and Harley aren't striving to be raw vegans anymore. They're eating cooked food, not as a primary staple, but they are eating it as a secondary staple. And that's not 80-10-10. Well, as some people point out, it is the caloric ratio 80-10-10, but it's not raw vegan. Sure, John might be eating 20% fat, and that's not 80-10-10 either. And I'd rather be a 95-5 cooked vegan than a 70-20-10 raw vegan. But for whatever reason, the Fruit Festival is about raw veganism. And so I'm kind of left at this point where I really wish Freelee and Harley were still going. I don't think it was a big attack on them. Now, it was said that the board has some misgivings about how Freelee and Harley treat other members. I don't know what that's about. That's their feelings. But I don't feel like they were trying to exclude Freelee and Harley from the festival because they hate Freelee and Harley so much. I don't feel like that's what's going on. I feel like the whole thing is spiraling out of control. We're making too much of this de-pioneering. Freelee and Harley do great things. I think we all understand that. But the board has decided that they don't qualify as pioneers anymore. That's just how it is. Maybe too, Victoria's eating cooked food. Plant-based athlete has said that Victoria eats cooked food. But the difference is she's not eating a ton of it on camera. It's different. I know these people might eat cooked food so much. They might eat cooked food sometimes, but they're not going on YouTube and showing people how much cooked food they eat. In the public's eyes, these people are still striving to be raw vegans. I'm not justifying them being pioneers. I think that maybe the Woodstock Fruit Festival would be better off really having a more strict guidelines for pioneership. But yeah, I can, if their goal is for this to be a raw vegan festival and Freelee and Harley aren't striving to be raw vegans anymore, I can understand that logic. That logic makes sense. We're completely blowing this out of proportion. They still want Freelee and Harley there. I still want to go to a fruit festival where the community is not divided. That's all I have to say. Please leave your comments below. Like or dislike this video. I'm sure a lot of you are going to dislike it. That's okay. Bring it on.